You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button.
LSU's looking to break their 5-game losing streak in opener. 3 of those have been under Brian Kelly, and they're trying to do it facing their toughest opponent, which is a true road game at Clemson, who we all assume is going to be a preseason top 5 team. This will be LSU's toughest opener since 2011, when it was a top 5 matchup in Arlington against Oregon. Will Blackwell was an All-American offensive lineman on that 2011 team, and he's good enough to join us here to talk a little bit about it. Willie B., how are you, man?
Hey, what's up, Matt Moscona? How's it going down there in DR?
It's awesome. Fall camp is here. Not nearly as brutal as the fall camps that y'all used to have with Les Miles, but they're off and running, man, and heading toward this Clemson game. I want to cover a lot of ground with you, but I kind of want to tap into what you remember about that 2011 offseason leading up to Oregon, because I seem to remember there was a real heavy focus internally on that game. Is that how you remember it?
Yeah, of course, Matt. And, that's probably one thing we should really always give credit to Les for is he kind of started the big preseason game format. I remember actually 2009, the end of 2009, he brought us together as a team and gave us the option to play North Carolina in Atlanta, 2010. And after we all, of course, unanimously decided, let's play that game, he kind of threw in, maybe the next year we'll have somebody bigger. And then, of course, soon after the next year, we figured out it was going to be Oregon. And I think his main argument and what it really kind of always did, Matt, from a training perspective, was it gave you something to look forward to, especially when you're 8 or 9 days into camp and you're going against the same guy for, at that time when we were doing 2-a-days, it's been 15, 20 practices. It gets hard to stay focused. You're tired. But when you know that there's another team lining up the top 5 matchup, you don't really have a choice to lay down or be tired. So I think it's a great motivator. I just don't understand the disconnect between being motivated and playing great that Kelly's kind of seemed to fumble a little bit.
What is your observation there?
I don't know. I guess you could say the first one, I guess, would have been what, Florida State, New Orleans.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's a tough matchup either way. We missed a kick at the end. We're in that game. What was it? Next year we played them and they beat us pretty bad with Jordan Travis. That was a special team for them. Probably should have performed better, but we all know how the defense and everything turned out. So yeah, that's kind of two tough breaks. You don't necessarily hope for that, but I can't argue against the motivation that it provides in summer workouts and an August camp.
Would you prefer?
It's a huge gamble, but it's a huge reward.
Would you prefer to play the marquee opener? You were a freshman. You redshirted in 07. Where y'all played Mississippi State. 08 would have been Appalachian State. 09 was Washington. 10 was North Carolina. 11 was Oregon. So you played one kind of crappy opponent, the Appalachian State. I know they build it against the national champions playing each other, but it was a crappy opponent. Like, would you prefer the crappy opponent or the marquee opener?
No, I think you go to LSU thinking first of all that you can win every game, and you think that you're going to be playing the best talent. So I don't believe that any of those guys wouldn't want to play in a marquee matchup. I would actually kind of be disappointed if they didn't.
Okay.
This is every week of the SEC. I don't see that the first game is much different, really.
Will Blackwell is with us. The other big difference between now and when you played, and I was talking about this earlier, Will. I mean, this is my 19th fall camp that I've covered, and some of those. I know, right? Some of those fall camps under Les were just, God, they were just. It was just so brutal. I mean, he was trying to grind you all into dust. This is so dramatically different, and so they're trying to balance getting guys ready to play, but listening to the medical science, the analytics, and all to take care of these guys, to preserve them. Where do you fall on that conversation?
I love it, Matt, because I don't want to have a guy that's fully bought into the technology and the analytics, and I don't want a guy that's fully bought into the Bo Schembechler, Woody Hayes. We got to run the Oklahoma drill and do the big cat and try to murder someone. So the fact that you and we trust you. A lot of us trust you as a very solid source within the program, and for you to say that Kelly and Baker and those guys are trying to float somewhere around the middle on that scale, to me, that's important because, yeah, man, you got to get out there and you got to beat each other up. You got to find out who's tough and who's not. But there's a point to where it's a detriment to your body, and this is a very long, grueling season, and they finally come around to believe that is a fact, as opposed to let's see how many times we can practice these guys and try to break one of them.
Did you feel that in those fall camps that they were?
Yeah, but then again, like you mentioned earlier, the game itself and the culture around the game is so much different. We were kind of on the tail end of like that's just how football was. That's how every football camp until then was ever done, and that's how they were run. And you were going to run 2-a-days in your sweaty, gross, stinky pads with your sprained ankle, and if you didn't want to practice, then you go to the second team, and that's just kind of how it was.
It's so interesting, too. And Will Blackwell's our guest, who was an All-American in that 2011 season, by the way. But it's like, Will, it's not that long ago that you played. It's not like we're talking about the Junction Boys in the 1950s.
It feels like it.
But it doesn't. But it does. But exactly, because the game has evolved so much, it does feel like it was a lifetime ago. We got a couple more minutes, so I want to pick your brain on a few other things. You're also a guy that started your career as a defensive lineman, converted to offensive line, and then became an All-American. When I ask you about some of the cross-training that's happening right now, like Carius Kern's a freshman that's learning to play left tackle. DJ Chester was a center who's now moving to guard. How difficult are those transitions for those guys? Maybe a better way to ask it, Will, is like, what's a realistic expectation immediately for those guys switching positions?
Well, I think first of all, it depends on athletic ability. Obviously, I would probably consider myself middle of the road in terms of defensive line, right? If you have a guy that's above average athletic ability, that takes a couple of weeks or a little bit of time out of the training process. However, the biggest switch from the way I did it, from defensive line to offensive line, you don't ever really see it the other way around, was just the mental aspect. Especially when you grow up playing defense, Matt, you if you're an edge rusher or a defensive tackle, you can brute force your way into being a good player. If you're quick, you got a couple good pass rush moves, you can still be okay. I mean, obviously got to keep your contain or stay in your gap, whatever. When you're playing offensive line, you can't afford to make a mistake. You got to know the playbook. There's not a okay, I only have to block this one guy. You got to know what everyone's doing. It's more in unison. So I guess having to rely more on your mental capabilities and a quicker recall than just like, okay, I'm going to go up here and rush this guy, and I got to beat him and get to the quarterback.
It's so funny. I'm glad you went there because so when Brian Kelly met with reporters yesterday, effectively the one offensive line spot that's locked down, he sort of conceded, is Braylon Moore. The Virginia Tech transfer is going to play center. Now, they had DJ Chester there last year, and he started all 13 games, but Chester has even acknowledged to the media, like, he'd rather play guard because all of the things you just said that go along. And he's also a giant, and huge offensive linemen don't typically play center. So if I asked you, like, the most important position on the offensive line, like, is, even if everybody else is in a new spot, Will, is starting with a guy with 40 career starts or whatever it is for Braylon Moore at center, like, is that the starting point that you want to build around?
Yes. If you are in a lab or in a draft war room and you get 5 picks and you're going to pick first, yes, you're going to pick the smart, experienced, athletic center. Now, not that can't be overcome, right? Center is the most important position. However, if one of those guards is, above average or smart, if you kind of overcome a few of the mishaps. I'm not trying to touch on 2011. As P.J. Lonergan and T-Bob were both very good centers, but at times that they did battle injury, or there was a little bit of rotations, less like to rotate those guys. It does kind of throw off the timing. We were okay because the other guys could pick up the slack, right? And that's really what we talk about when we talk about offensive line. We do want our center to be the quarterback, quote unquote, of the line, but it's a unit. It's a squad. It's like the old game where you're all tied to a string and you got to keep the string together. And if somebody gets out of line, it pops. That's just the perfect analogy that comes to my brain. Four guys do everything right. One guy does something wrong, and it's a negative play.
I wish we had more time. Let me ask you one more. How good do you think this line can be, even losing basically having 5 new starters all in new positions?
Well, you talk about the experience. We brought some experience in from the kid that's playing for Virginia Tech. The other guard is going to be the kid from Northwestern. You got Chester. So they all have played and do have experience. And I think they can probably hone in on that, Matt. But as you know, it's all about really building trust and relationships. And if the coaching staff can put those guys in the right positions in the next 4 to 5 weeks where they feel comfortable and can rely on each other, then, I think we have enough skill and talent around them to kind of help them elevate their game.
It's former All-American Will Blackwell. Always appreciate the visit, man. We'll do it again. Thank you.
Good talking to you, Matt. You got to bring me to the table next time I'm down there.
Dude, I swear, next time you're here, tell me, give me a heads up. I would love to bring you out, man. Bring you, your family, on me. We'll come eat and drink. It'd be great.
Sounds great. Thanks, Matt.
All right, brother. Be good. That's former Tiger All-American Will Blackwell.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.